What did Kevin James rib his dad about when he appeared on Star Search? Which classic diva did Billy Porter cover to pull off his big Star Search victory? Find out those answers and more as we explore the stars who got their start on this classic talent show. In 1993, the singing group Girls' Tyme appeared on Star Search, but despite their name, it just wasn't their time. However, some of the members would later find huge success after walking off stage, and one in particular became one of the biggest celebrities in the world. She released a little album that you might have heard of called Lemonade. That's right, Beyoncé, along with Kelly Rowland and others, performed on Star Search, though they lost to a rock band called Skeleton Crew. But they managed to make a positive impression on their competition, as Skeleton Crew keyboardist Dan Hess told People magazine in 2013. Once we realized that Girls' Tyme was Beyoncé's group, we kept our eyes on them. Those same eyes would watch some of Girls' Tyme's members go on to become part of the iconic R&B girl group Destiny's Child. Beyoncé later talked about the Star Search loss and how it truly shaped her as an artist. As she explained, "When I was in the studio, I was threading the song together, and I thought of this performance, which was a really defining moment in my life as a child."
At that time, you don't realize that you could actually work super hard and give everything you have and lose.
Do you know anyone who jumps from career to career and then gets confused about why they haven't found success? This might work sometimes, but more often, it seems like those who persist are the ones who truly excel. Dave Chappelle is certainly someone who has a single-minded focus when it comes to his career, as he's often talked about always wanting to be a comedian ever since he was a kid. He began honing his famous comedy act from a very young age, which was evident when he appeared on Star Search as a 19-year-old. During his routine, Chappelle told a joke about how Batman and Robin never fight crime in neighborhoods that require their services. Then he riffed about how dangerous it used to be for him while delivering pizzas in Washington, D.C. When all was said and done, Chappelle received a perfect 4-star score, good enough to earn him the victory. He even made host Ed McMahon crack up when he was called over.
"You are here because of your grandmother. Explain that."
She loves you, man. This is her favorite show. She buys Alpo, doesn't even have a dog.
That little ribbing was in reference to host Ed McMahon doing commercials for Alpo during his gig as Johnny Carson's sidekick on The Tonight Show. If you weren't aware that Alanis Morissette was on Star Search, well, you ought to know, because she displayed plenty of impressive stage presence when she made it onto the show as a 14-year-old. At least that's what some people might say. Alas, the judges didn't totally see it that way, as she ended up losing. But of course, Morissette would ultimately be the big winner in the end, thanks to a certain album called Jagged Little Pill that was later turned into a Broadway musical. You might have listened to its songs, Ironic or Hand in My Pocket, once or twice. Jagged Little Pill has sold more than 30 million copies around the globe since its 1995 release. At the time, Morissette was the first Canadian to have an album go #1 in the United States. Its iconic songs are a far cry from the happy and poppy dance tunes that she included on her previous LPs, and they also stand in stark contrast to the cut she sang on Star Search. She later got a chuckle out of revisiting her performance during a 1999 appearance on The Rosie O'Donnell Show. It's always nice to be able to laugh at our teenage selves. It was all there already for LeAnn Rimes at the tender age of 8. The eye contact with the audience, the confidence, and of course, the singing chops. We're talking about one of the most iconic country music singers of all time, after all. In 1990, she appeared on Star Search's junior vocalist competition. She sang Marty Robbins' 1961 song, Don't Worry, and beat out another young country crooner named Levi Garrett after the judges gave Rimes a score of 3.75 stars. She lost the following week, but her godmother made everything better, as she recalled to People magazine in 2017. "It was my first lesson in losing, which is pretty good at 8. I went back and I cried. And then I remembered my godmother telling me she was going to take me to Disney World. I was fine after that. It was all good. Oh, to be a kid again, when any setback could be fixed by a magical vacation. Imagine as an adult being able to erase your heartache with a visit to see Mickey Mouse." Of course, Rimes would also go on to have a fruitful singing career, which kicked off after she scored her hit song Blue in 1996. So she got the vacation and the professional success. If comedians wore numbers on their clothing like athletes, then Rosie O'Donnell's would surely be hanging in the rafters of Los Angeles' Earl Carroll Theater, which is where Star Search was filmed. That's because she won 5 times in the comedy category, She was such a frequent victor that Ed McMahon even referred to her as a Star Search family member. So how did this veteran actor and comedian get on the show in the first place? She broke it all down when she had a virtual reunion with other Star Search contestants in January 2021. As she put it, "I was in a stand-up comedy club right near my house, and the kid in my high school, his older brother owned it, so I was going on a lot as the MC. And this woman came over and said, 'Ed McMahon is my dad, and I'm going to get you on Star Search.'" She also noted that McMahon's daughter took her phone number and called her the next day, and soon thereafter came a call from people associated with the show. O'Donnell also made fun of the hairdo and outfit she wore on the show, calling her appearance, quote, "the height of wrongness." If you thought that The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was the first time that Tatiana Ali was ever in front of TV cameras, then you are sorely mistaken. It's no stretch to say that she's been entertaining audiences since growing up on Long Island. One of her first professional gigs was on Sesame Street when she was just 6. By age 7, she left Big Bird's Nest to hang out with Ed McMahon. She won twice on Star Search, and for one of her performances, she sang the Motown classic, "Ain't No Mountain High Enough." That song was penned by Nicholas Ashford and Valerie Simpson back in 1966, and it netted Diana Ross her first Grammy nomination as a solo artist. It also notched Ali a perfect Star Search score of 4 stars. During her performance, she was all confidence and swagger, as she sported a pink dress and a curly hairdo. When McMahon asked her how winning made her feel, she beamed with a smile that was as big as her singing voice. Ali's singing career then got sidetracked, but in the best possible way, as she played Ashley Banks on 6 seasons of Fresh Prince. She later rekindled her singing career after the show was over by signing to her castmate Will Smith's production company and releasing her debut album Kiss the Sky in 1998. Before he won over legions of his fans as food-loving delivery man Doug Heffernan on The King of Queens, Kevin James paid his dues on the comedy stage. In 1995, he took his jokes to Star Search, which earned him lots of laughs and even a few victories. Even that far back in his career, James's routine was already plenty polished. His act worked because it was based on relatable subjects, like battling with his father over the house's temperature. Dad was too cheap to get an air conditioner, so his family got an oscillating fan instead.
What a horrible invention this is. It's like waiting for a bus. Oh man, when is that cold air gonna get here?
But while James had to wait a while to be cooled off, he didn't have to wait very long for success. Just 1 year after Star Search, he appeared on an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond. And then 2 years later, he started his nearly decade-long run on The King of Queens. Not bad for a guy who grew up without any air conditioning. Aaliyah might have lost out to her challenger Katrina Abrams when she appeared on Star Search in 1989 as a 10-year-old, but she went on to rack up a number of victories for herself in the ensuing years. During her performance, the budding R&B star belted out My Funny Valentine for the junior vocalist category. Even as a preteen, she already had the stage presence of a veteran artist. She also displayed plenty of vocal range, which she showed off by allowing her voice to soar toward the song's end. After losing to Abrams, Aaliyah simply smiled, shook the winner's hand, and walked away. But as revealed in a 2001 Vibe article, her emotions were a little more dramatic than what the cameras captured as she wept backstage. She had a deep desire to please the crowd, which Ed McMahon noticed right away, as he told Vibe, "There's a thing that you see when somebody walks out on the stage. I call it the fire. They got that inner fire, which has nothing to do with the schooling, nothing to do with the teacher, nothing to do with the parents. There is a desire in that person to please the audience. You see enough of it to recognize it, and that's what I saw with Aaliyah." Aaliyah eventually got to show that fire off to the world, although sadly not for very long, as she died in a plane crash on August 25, 2001, at the age of 22. Pose star Billy Porter brought his silky smooth voice to Star Search's singing category for an episode that aired in 1992. Fans of his surely won't be surprised to learn that he won the finals and left the stage $100,000 richer. For his last performance, he sang Jennifer Holiday's A Dream with Your Name on It. He discussed his appearance during an April 2021 interview on Jimmy Kimmel Live, as revealed that he wasn't quite sure what to do with his winnings, though he did get some work done on his chompers.
I should have bought an apartment in Midtown. I didn't know that that was what you were supposed to do with your money, so it just sat in the bank.
In addition to the money in the bank, Porter also got some gaps in his teeth fixed because of his ambitions to be a movie star. He flashed his pearly whites to the Jimmy Kimmel cameras and thanked Star Search for purchasing them. He probably remembers that victory every time he smiles now. There are some people whose performance on Star Search went so poorly that they would want to forget all about it. But not Norm Macdonald. He actually wrote about his appearance going completely wrong in his 2016 book based on a true story, not a memoir. He hailed from Canada, so he was allowed to be on an international version of the show, which aired in 1990. As the comedian wrote, "I always made sure to begin with my strongest joke, my surefire laugh getter, my answering machine joke, and so I came right out with it. It got no laughs." He continued on with the terrifying details as he revealed, "This was a big problem. When I had chosen my 2 minutes of material, I had taken into account the laughter of the audience. But there was a complete absence of laughter. And as I completed my final joke, I saw, in horror, I still had 1 minute and 15 seconds left to perform." But it's obvious that Macdonald ultimately didn't let that experience snuff out his ambition, as he went on to have a successful comedy and acting career that lasted for decades. He passed away from acute leukemia on September 14th, 2021. But not before he provided innumerable laughs to his legions of fans. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Nicki Swift videos about your favorite stars are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.